Hey y'all, Kenny here with a quick review of the BSA Edge 2-7x32 pistol scope. Thanks for joining me. Sometime back I reviewed the sister to this scope, the 2-7x28. They are identical externally with the exception of the larger objective lens. For a cheap scope, they don't look bad. Quite stylish, don't you think? Now, I'm not a scope snob. I'll use a cheap scope if it serves my purpose. I have a 2-7x32 Burris on a 35 Remington contender barrel that I hunt with, and I want the better glass for my hunting rig, but I'm just going to shoot targets, maybe an occasional varmint with this scope, so I think this will do. Besides, I can't afford $400 a pop to put a Burris on all my barrels. One thing that's nice about this scope is the fast focus feature for the reticle. You don't see that real often on cheap scopes. Some people complain about the coin operated turrets, but that doesn't really bother me. I'm going to zero this thing and I won't mess with it anymore unless I change bullets that I'm shooting. Definitely not going to be dialing that up for a 300-yard shot. If I need to take a shot like that, I'll just use the old Kentucky holdover. Besides, these turrets don't track accurately enough for that kind of use. Looking through this scope, the glass is actually not that bad. It's really quite clear. Now, it doesn't compare to a Leupold or a Burris, but you have to consider the price difference in these scopes, and certainly you shouldn't expect it to. One place that it doesn't perform that well is in low light. No pistol scope does. I thought maybe the larger objective would make a huge difference. It did make a little, but not that much difference between this one and the 28 mil objective. It has a duplex reticle that is fairly bold. I would prefer that it were a bit finer for target shooting. To put that in perspective for you, if I look at a 3/4 inch dot at 100 yards, with these eyes it's really difficult for me to see it for this reticle. But if you're a hunter, the bold reticle makes it really easy to pick up in the woods. Another complaint in the online reviews was that looking through this scope is like looking down a tube. That is a valid complaint. This is an extended eye relief pistol scope, so don't expect to see what you see through a rifle scope. But when I compare the field of view of this scope with my Burris, the Burris wins hands down. That's why I use it for a hunting scope. If you mount this on a handgun that you're going to hunt with, when your adrenaline's up, it's going to be a little bit tough to find that monster buck in this scope. Now we need to talk about the elephant in the room when it comes to this scope. Not only is it the same on the outside as the 2-7x28, but it's also the same on the inside. I removed the mag ring on this scope, and there are 3 screws that hold the erector in the tube, so I know it has the same design as the 2-7x28. That scope could not withstand the recoil of the 30-30 Winchester barrel, so I don't expect this scope to handle the 357 maximum that I'm going to mount it on. So why would I buy this scope knowing that it wasn't going to do the job? Well, I bought it secondhand on Amazon for 61 bucks. In less than 2 hours I can take this scope apart, do some modifications, and this scope will be capable of handling any cartridge chambered in a handgun. You say, well, that doesn't make any sense to buy something new, take it apart and fix it, but people do it with a rifle all the time. You buy a cheap rifle, take it home, pull the stock off, bed it, or buy another stock, replace the cheap scope that came on the rifle, pull the trigger assembly out and replace it, or take it to a gunsmith and have him do a trigger job. So if you're capable, why not do that? But I have detailed those modifications in a video, and you can check that out in the playlist that's coming up. So what's my final word on the BSA Edge 2-7x32 pistol scope? Well, if you're going to put this on a Rimfire pistol, 22 Magnum maybe, it's an absolute yes. If you're going to put this on your 357 Magnum, you may prove me wrong, But I think in the long run, you're going to find this thing can't handle that kind of recoil. So to all my subscribers, a big thank you. For those of you who have not subscribed, now's a good time to do that. Thanks again for watching.